What you're about to watch is our greatest achievement in life so far. It's the culmination of our education and adventures with our friends. This is our series of mystery, sci-fi, action, coming-of-age movies in which we taught ourselves how to tell a story. So stick with me, it'll be worth it. First, let me introduce the team. Like a garage band, we'd get together to put on these scrappy little shows, but we'd put our whole hearts into them. So on keys, we have Justin Ramos, the Morricone de my Leone, composer and musician.
I just add mallets on top.
Behind the scenes, my sister Melody Hellard, costumer, puppeteer, engineer, and occasional extra. My best friend Nicholas Glaab is the enigmatic pool man. You'll learn more soon. Our grandpa, Pop Jerry Hellard, steals the show in one of his first roles since 1957's Raintree County. And boy does he still got it. The star of the trilogy is my brother, Maxwell Hellard, although he continually denied that he was an actor. As for myself...
Hi, my name is Michael Hellard. I am the director of this film.
I'm an artist and a filmmaker, and I'd like to present the Maxwell Adventures. Danger in the deep end, fear from afar, and horror flying high. Now I'd like to take you back to 2017. This was an experiment, filmed on my iPhone 7 in the backyard over the course of a day. This is Danger in the Deep End.
I hope you enjoy the film.
I used to criticize a lot of movies until I asked myself, who was I to judge? I was a frustrated community college kid because I didn't get into CalArts for animation. I worked at a comic shop, watched a lot of movies, and talked a lot of talk. So just to humble myself, I wanted to try something small. Danger was a string of experiments wrapped in a pulpy story inspired by the movies and shows I loved as a kid. Originally meant for Mr. T and Zendaya, we had to recast with cheaper alternatives. Maxwell didn't want to be an actor, but he looked like Johnny Quest. Plus, he had natural chemistry with my best friend since middle school, Nick Glaab.
Maxwell, you're holding the top secret upside down.
Nick's a born performer, so they immediately became our dynamic duo. And once my grandpa put on a fake mustache, he won a role as well.
You want to give me another piece of that double-sided tape because this side's not sticking.
We also needed my sister's help. Melody has always been incredibly creative, and at the time she was in high school, creating costumes for the school musicals. And to round out the crew, Justin Ramos was our high school choir accompanist who moved to New York with dreams of playing for Broadway, but was working at a performing arts high school while trying to break in. He'd never done a movie like this before, but was always an inspiration for being so creatively thoughtful. We came up with 3 guidelines. Make the biggest feeling movie with the least amount of resources, keep it simple, and make a movie that we would want to watch. Technically, I had no supplies, so I figured shooting a silent film on a phone and converting the footage to black and white allowed us to be versatile and cheap, but in a lo-fi B-movie way. The whole point was that it was a learning experience.
You're supposed to yell action.
At every step, I had no idea what I was doing. The focus was just on figuring out how to do the best with what we had. I did want it to feel as legit as possible though, so we designed a logo, made posters, and silkscreen shirts. When we ran out of shirts, my grandma scavenged every blank piece of clothing from her closet, so 50% of the merch was my grandma's size, but it made it even more personal. Together as a team, we learned so much through the process, although I think they didn't understand most of what we were doing until they saw the movie at the premiere. After that though, we were all on the same page about how to make another movie. It had to be bigger, but not out of control. We could take it out of the house, but not out of the neighborhood. We'd test more effects and expand our skills, but the biggest challenge was the loss of a main character when Nick moved to Seattle. How would our story continue? See for yourself in the second Maxwell adventure, Fear from Afar. Fear took a long time. The story changed a lot from conception to filming. I found that I could see the movie in my head, translate it to visuals, debate the character arcs, and then rework the story. I drew every shot as a thumbnail and then timed it out with temp music, which essentially became our script. Certain scenes are almost exactly the same in the final movie. Shooting was much more fun than the first because we all had an informed curiosity. At times I was a little overambitious for our no-budget project, but my approach was that I'd rather have an imperfect but interesting shot than a clean but boring shot. Looking back, I can't judge the movie because I learned so much from it, and certain elements worked out better than they should have, like 6 different locations in one scene. But life got in the way. In her senior year of high school, Mel built 4 different puppets for her theater production of Little Shop. After, she went to Otis for costume design until they admitted they didn't have a costume design program, so she dropped out. Both my grandpas got to drive their cars and be extras in the background of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Nick moved to Seattle with his parents and took some classes up there. Justin was playing for more Broadway benefit shows and events. I transferred schools and got my first real job in theme park design, where I got to go to Florida and work on. All the while, little Maxwell worked his way through middle school, so Fear was put on the back burner, but I still cut the movie when I had time. The project had unique challenges, like figuring out how to continue the story without one of the main characters, or Maxwell fainting while getting his black eye makeup and going to the ER, or when a fire blew through the area and we were evacuated for a few days, causing the terrain to look so different that we couldn't get any more pickup shots. None of the challenges compared to the tragedy of COVID-19 and the passing of my grandma and grandpa. The sudden nature of it all shook my family, and like everybody at the time, I just felt helpless. The least we could do was finish the movie that everybody had been so supportive of. We held 4 socially distanced premieres of the movies back-to-back, plus a pre-show commercial that my grandpa shot in the 60s. Seeing our friends and family for the first time in forever was the greatest reward, and we were hell-bent on making a worthy finale.
In Danger in the Deep End, they splash down in suburbia. In Fear from Afar, they struck back, stole the map, and disappeared. Now, get ready for the battle to decide the fate of the neighborhood. The Danger in the Deep End trilogy comes to an end in Horror Flying High. Coming soon.
So they're all mad at each other, they kind of start bickering, and then we hear a noise. Down the hallway. Boom, 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 boom. We see lights flickering as a lamp starts to fall. Boom. 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 Banshee scream as it flies towards us. Run, run, run. Boom, he grabs it. Boom, shoves it against the wall. Picture frame falls. Door slams. Boom, puts it in the crate, busts out. Maxwell, Maxwell. Goes down, throwing star. Boom, punches it, falls on the ground, runs under the bed. Maxwell, oh no, jumps on the bed, starts to come down on him. Boom. Maxwell turns around, grabs a knife. Swing! Boom! Doink! Maxwell, Maxwell, let me in! No, I can do this! Boom! Grabs the throwing star, throws at him. Together, Nick and I came up with this story. Like before, I drew it out, but now I'd act it out over Zoom, we'd talk about what didn't work, and I'd go back to the drawing board to rework scenes. Our final version of the story would be an epic conclusion that would wrap up all of our plot points. I don't learn well by being told things. I have to learn by doing. so I'd heard it said that stories were conflict, but I didn't get it. Eventually, I experienced that when all three of our characters were on a collision course, the movie was most interesting. And then boom, I got storytelling. So we adjusted the characters' motivations and plot, and eventually the story came together. Then, it was time to actually make the movie. With Danger, I was figuring out how to do things, and with Fear, we were challenging our own abilities with the ambition to try something new. This would be the culmination of everything we learned technically, but personally, it felt like our promise to ourselves that the challenges of life wouldn't be able to stop us from accomplishing things. We built props and tested effects until finally we were ready for the movie.
Welcome to Maxwell Adventures 3.
After some of Pop's friends were joking about his terrible stick-on mustache, he surprised us all by revealing that he grew one for real. He laughed and said that Gracie would have hated it. Originally, I wanted Maxwell to look more like Robert Redford for this one. He and I began growing out our hair when we thought the pandemic would last 2 weeks, but by the time we began filming, he looked more like Robert Plant. It matched the Maxwell character's growth perfectly, and we leaned into it even more. Shooting took a few months, with Nick's visits marking the beginning and the end. It was the most fun we had from the entire trilogy. We kept the team small, but expanded the cast with my friends Christian and Luke. And when we needed a birthday party scene, we invited a bunch of friends to social distance, wear masks, and act as extras. We planned it for my real birthday, and my mom wasn't too happy that I wanted my 22nd birthday cake to say Happy 16th Maxwell. The final character we added would be an FBI director, so we cast our high school theater teacher, Marilyn Strange. On set, I kept calling her Mrs. Strange until she stopped me and explained that I could just call her Marilyn, since now I was the director. Between takes, she asked Maxwell if he was going to be in her theater class, to which he replied, "I'm not an actor." This project was planned to be so much more effects heavy, and it took months. Once again, we were in over our heads, but I can now decipher ways to solve problems or reach out to people who could help, like fellow CSUN student Francis Santos, who helped us with a great CG sequence. While editing, we realized the movie was confusing because of how detailed the plot was, so I showed Maxwell Goodfellas, and we decided to add a voiceover. To finally pull it all together, Justin composed an incredible score, revisiting the themes from the first two while creating something brand new.
Okay, welcome to the Composer's Studio. I'm just gonna walk you through what I used for this show. Oh, you're gonna like this. You'll know this note. Ready? Oh, trigger. I start every movie like that. Here's a secret. Low strings, scary. Add one high string. Add one more. Scary. And all I did was this. That's how you make something scary. Easy. That's a simple thing. Does this sound familiar? French horns. And then I had 4 French horns. Oh wait, that's a scary version. Yes! Here's the trick to writing this scary. 3 notes. Yes. More. That's all you need, baby. All you need. This is like the pop, English horn. Pop theme. Here's oboe. English horn, which I like better. Oh. Pop, where are you? Okay, this is the noir piano. This is the sad piano. Like, listen to this. Oh, heartstrings. So you're gonna hear me just do like one note. You're gonna hear like, oh, that's the magic right there. All right, we have a saxophone. And there you get kind of like that jazzy feel. Yeah, which we never had before. Muted trumpet. Ooh, cooler. A little more spy-ish. You know, he's a little detective-y here. In the second movie, I brought out the bass drum. I really didn't have any of this percussion in the first movie. I use that a lot in the second movie. You're gonna hear that. And then the snare drum really has a sense of like urgency to it. So in a lot of the chase and fight sequences, I added. I stole that straight from John Williams. He does that in all his movies. And that brings us to timpani. I use this a lot. And if you want to roll, you just do this. And that is how you write Maxwell Adventures on the film scoring side.
After many years, our Danger in the Deep End trilogy premiered in its complete form at the Roxy Stadium 11 Theater in Camarillo, California on January 4th, 2023, Nick's birthday. It was the stormiest night anyone could remember, so we were nervous that no one would come. But luckily, I was wrong, and we were so grateful. So now, just as the audience saw on that dark and stormy night, we present Horror Flying High.
The ending of our story began in the hills. Let me recap. That is ex-FBI agent The Pool Man. My name is Maxwell. This is our story. I spent the eve of my 16th birthday practicing driving with my grandpa. For the 100th time. He was too nervous to actually let me go out on the road. But I argued that there was no need to practice if I was never going to actually go anywhere. It didn't matter though. All I was focused on was hunting the aliens. late to meet the pool man for our daily search. Pop thought the alien hunt was too dangerous, so I had to tell him I had a real job. I'd ride my bike to the park and have the pool man pick me up from there. When I was about to leave, Pop had made a birthday breakfast, but I told him I had to go. He asked that I at least open my gift. I tried my luck with the car, even though I already knew the answer. He asked what time I'd be home, which I thought was weird. It was always the same. I had to be at work at 11 and I'd return home at 5. Of course, Pop didn't know I was on the hunt. But it was the same thing every day, just trying to solve the 5-year case of the missing aliens. As soon as I saw what the pool man was holding, though, I knew today would be different. The pool man showed me that the aliens had crossed each cocoon off the map as they collected them and brought them back to the cave. He then pulled out a new map for the day's plan. The pool man would inform the FBI about his finding the cave, using the cocoon he brought back as evidence, while I would investigate an unmarked location on the map to see if the aliens missed a cocoon. I wanted to see the cave, but the pool man insisted on this plan. Once he was done with the FBI, he'd pick me up by 5 and return me to pick up my bike. This was not how I'd imagined today after 5 years. On my birthday, too. Each FBI agent had a designated disguise, like the pool man, but once he was fired, we used a myriad of covers to get us into places. We were tree trimmers, chimney sweeps, wedding DJs, whatever the situation required. Today I was going to follow up on a call from a neighbor about a cocoon. Meanwhile, the poolman went back to a remote FBI outpost to meet up with his former undercover team, codenamed the Neighborhood Watch. When he was fired, he became the laughingstock of the FBI, and he was banned from ever returning unless he brought evidence of something important. So on this day, the 2 agents on duty were particular jerks and thought letting him back in could be funny. Turns out, the joke would be on them. Not have been able to take the cocoon back, but it was an easy bait and switch. Maybe aliens are just afraid of dogs. Maybe that's why dogs are man's best friend. I should get a dog. While I waited for the pool man, he was just making his case to his FBI director. She gave him a chance, and everything would have been great had it not been for a hilarious joke. The cocoon rolled under the plane and cracked open without anyone seeing, including the pool man. man, again, looked like a fool. I obviously didn't know his situation at the time, but I was frustrated he was taking so long. At approximately 4:45 p.m., I got tired of waiting and decided to make my way home. Back at the airport, the petty agents were taking full advantage of getting to arrest the pool man. By approximately 6 p.m., I was nearing home. At that point, I was mad about not seeing the cave, not being able to drive, not being picked up for hours, and I didn't even get my bike because it was in the opposite direction. So I was on edge when I walked up to the house, and I knew something was off. I had been ambushed before, but this time would be different. The alien that was knocked out by the pool man had to be taken away by a special operations team, and the fallen agents were only rushed away after. The team learned that the cocoons had to be cracked open in order for the aliens to emerge, which explained why the cocoons were still intact after 5 years. If any more of these were to open, we would have a big problem on our hands. But that was something I was about to learn. As the final guests were leaving the party, Pop began to ask me why I was late. I told him that it wasn't my fault that I was late from work, but he said I needed to be responsible. I made a commitment to be home at 5. We fought over it, but there was no point. It was just one more thing that went wrong. Since I woke up that day, not one thing was going right, and I was real tired of having no control over my life. So I decided to do something about it. It was all over. Pop knew the poolman and I were working together. The poolman saw the axe and seemed to think I had or would jeopardize the mission, and neither of them listened when I swore I knew what was best. But suddenly, everything stopped. Pop tried to stop us from going after it, but he couldn't. Driving around was pointless. We didn't know where it was heading. It was impossible to see it by driving around the dark streets at night. But the poolman, he had an idea. Frustrated with this 5-year hunt and ready to be done. offered to grab fire extinguishers, but Pop told me there was no point. The firemen were on their way. It was all my fault. I shouldn't have taken the plane down. I shouldn't have cut the cocoon open. I shouldn't have even been working with the pool man in the first place. Everything had been wrecked because of me, and there was nothing I could do about it now. The alien was off into the night, and we had no idea where it was going, and then I realized something. Where the alien was so frantically trying to get to. With the sonar-like scream, he was trying to find the alien cave. And I knew exactly how to get there. But then, there was Pop. And with that, our story of the aliens came to a close, and we were off on our next adventure.
Yeah, sure. And action? We didn't know how to make a movie, but now our little test has become my greatest achievement in life so far. The setbacks were many, and I spent a lot of time, and the movies can be amateur, but it's not about that. It's about the education, the willingness to try, and the journey you need to grow. I've learned so much and watched everyone succeed around me. My little sister Melody is now a designer at Mattel, in addition to having her own brand that was a part of LA Fashion Week. I was a groomsman at Masked Man Matt Barris's wedding, where Nick Glaab tore it up on the dance floor. Nick still performs music, but he's also working at a production company, learning audio mixing for movies. Christian Boychausen got his pilot's license and can now fly the plane that his dad built with his grandfather. I attended a performance of Dear Evan Hansen at the Amundsen Theater, conducted by Justin Ramos.
Yeah,
let's do it.
$1 million, baby. Dun, dun. I'm getting my own theme song right here.
Since then, he has played more massive shows on Broadway. I've worked my way up to becoming a producer and director at Sideshow Collectibles, where I've grown exponentially more while working on some really cool projects. And one day, I'll direct a great movie. Finally, little Maxwell Hellard, who wasn't an actor and would never do theater, starred as the heartthrob fiance in Marilyn Strange's production of Mamma Mia. I don't have the rights to play ABBA, but I do have the rights to this. Danger in the Deep End changed my life goal. I always wanted to be an artist, but being a filmmaker means you get to draw and paint and write and animate and hang out with your friends. You get to hike and swim and meet new people. You bring people together and inspire them to do more than anyone could have done on their own. And when it's all said and done, you get to share your adventure with others. Nick, turn the plane! So yeah, we were in over our heads the whole time. But that's what it's all about. You face that danger in the deep end, jump in, and learn how to swim. Thank you to our team, our friends, and our family for this education and adventure. And thank you for watching. Action.